What if every conversation with Claude Code automatically became a YouTube script, blog post, LinkedIn article, or tweet? All this with zero extra effort on your part. Sound interesting? I'm going to show you just how you're already sitting on hours of content and you should be able to use this immediately in your daily routine. So join me as I show you how we can turn your Claude Code sessions into a content creation machine. Thanks for watching the channel. I'm Chris Langston, and today we're going to be building a very useful feature that I think will benefit a lot of our viewers. Even if you don't want to use this, you can still learn a lot by watching the prompts that I create, how Claude and I go back and forth with one another. So I think it's going to be a really enjoyable video. So what exactly are we going to be building? So I'm going to use Claude Code to actually build a feature that Claude can help me with. So essentially what I'd like to do is to capture my daily workflow as I work with Claude in the terminal or inside of VS Code. And, what do I ask Claude? How does he plan? How does he respond back? What kind of questions does Claude ask me? And then what I'd like to know is, what are my input tokens that are being spent? What are the output tokens? And kind of capture all that stuff together. And I think of this as a journaling system. So, what I'd like to do is every time I use Claude, even, my full-time job, when I'm doing side projects, is I want to know in this journal, what kind of things was I talking about? And, I could look back on the course of time, say over the course of a few days or a week or a month, and I could ask Claude, hey, give me some metrics on, how many tokens was I using? What are some common patterns that I may have been asking about? And then, I think what that will do is can help me with, ultimately creating videos about some of this stuff. So with that objective in mind, let's get right into this and start building this out. And the first thing I'm going to do is just start building a prompt. And what I like to do is I've set up Visual Studio Code to where I can use my voice to dictate what the prompt's going to be, especially if I know it's going to be kind of long. So to be able to do that and to be productive, I create a markdown file, and I'm able to use my voice just to drive out the actual prompt. So, hey code. I want to be able to save off all the prompts that I give you and to save all the responses that you show me back in the terminal in some type of journaling style of feature. I would like to be able to look back over the journal for a given day, week, or month and see what all we've talked about, the prompts that I've given you, and the responses that you've provided. I would like this information written into a file that is well organized and easy for you to reason about. I want you to think about how we can do this, how it should be set up. I'm thinking this could be a global capacity on my machine. Maybe we put it at the root Claude folder. However, if you think it makes sense to put this at the project specific level, that's fine too. What are your thoughts on how this can be accomplished, if it's even possible? Keep in mind, my goal from this information would be to generate a talking script or to create some type of PowerPoint slides or Google Docs that will help me to create YouTube videos or write blog posts or to make tweets that's going to talk about my journey using AI. Do you think it's also possible to save off all the token information that I'm consuming and that I'm using? I think seeing the input and output tokens being used would be something interesting to understand. I would like for you to work on all this planning and research and discovery in the background, and I want you to use sub-agents. Please use as many sub-agents in parallel as you feel are appropriate. The more sub-agents you use, the better I think our results will be. So you have that flexibility and freedom to do that. Once I've created this prompt, then what I do is I like to take what my voice gave me, and then I drop it into this initial prompt file. And it's just a way for me to capture all the prompts. If you had a different tool to capture your thoughts or how you want to prompt Claude, that feel free to use whatever whatever's best for you. Now that we've got our prompt generally laid out of what we want to feed to Claude, let's go ahead and start Claude up. And I have a specific skill for Claude, and I call it Ultra Think Task. Broadly, it's just giving Claude instructions to do a lot of planning, thinking about things. Right now, we're not trying to actually build anything out, so we're going to just kind of plan and brainstorm things like that. So you can feed this prompt file to Claude, or you can just kind of paste it all in here. So that's what I'm going to do, is just paste in our text and let Claude start reasoning about the prompt itself. I'm sure Claude's going to ask me about permission to do various things and think through things. So I think one of the big things is working with parallel subagents to break down the actual work tends to make things go a lot faster. And also you get n number of context windows per subagent. So if it ended up using 5 subagents, then all 5 of those would get the same size context window. So if it was like 200,000 a context window, you'd get that 200,000 times 5, which is is tremendous. And then each subagent is going to summarize their information back to the parent agent or the orchestrator. So we'll just let this run for a few minutes and to see what Claude comes back with. I did hit the down arrow key on the keyboard so you can kind of see all the subagents, what they're doing. You can see like this to-do list getting checked off as well. So I find this helpful at times just to see what all Claude's currently working on. You can see it saying all 5 agents have completed their research and is updating to-dos and synthesizing all the findings. So one thing I find really interesting is looking at all the planning and the thinking and all that stuff that Claude comes up with. So here's, I had let the screen scroll down. So here's kind of what he plans out here. Claude saying this is absolutely possible. Claude Code can store rich conversation data. The implementation plan is to build a lightweight extraction and enrichment layer on top of Claude Code's infrastructure, plus to use Claude Code hooks to ensure all interactions are captured with the metadata you need for your content creation. So Claude already stores rich data in these various paths. We've got, in our case, we've got session data, we've got a global history, we've got some stats. So Claude's wanting to go ahead and get to work, so I'm just going to capture some of the screen as Claude's prompting me and asking for my permission to proceed. And I like this little tip that Claude gives us about Control plus T to hide to-dos or to see to-dos. A lot of times I like to just peek under the covers to see what all is being planned and actually worked on. So this is really cool. The Claude journal system is now complete, and here's a summary of what was built. The journaling is going to be captured in this at the root at Claude Journal. It found some previous sessions that I had here locally. It was able to pull those out and write those down for me. It's created export formats for YouTube video scripts with talking points, blog post drafts, tweets, 10 tweet formats, and presentation slides in Markdown. Here's some examples of how to run it. And then, this is just like a first pass, right? We haven't tried to tweak this or iterate or refine it. So what I'd like to do here is just kind of read over what Claude has come up with to see if I want to change some things based on how it's interpreted its implementation, and then refine this a little bit. And of course, we need to test it out to make some other sessions and other projects and make sure the journal is able to capture those correctly and do what we're wanting to do. And it says now for me for next steps that we can go ahead and exit this session. The journaling is going to actually extract what we've done here and actually write this out to this journal, and we can read the full README at this. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and exit this session, so all this stuff will be captured into a journal. And now I've got the actual README up that I brought up here. Take a peek at this one and see how it's actually, what all it's written here. So this is pretty comprehensive in this README file. What I want to do from here is just test some of this stuff out and just verify that everything's working as I expect. So after taking a look at the README file of what Claude had produced inside of this instructions, I find it pretty interesting what he came up with on the first pass. So I thought I'd just have us look at it together. I have the README file open here. One of the things it mentions that I need to do is to add an alias to my terminal. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. So now I can just type journal, and then it gives me like all these options of what I can do. Of course, the README file's got some examples in there, but it's pretty nice just to type the journal. You also can make this permanently inside of your shell. It doesn't need to always be running, but you can see where journal with some kind of command and options to that. So if I wanted to extract or export or create a summary to make stuff for YouTube or for tweets or for blogs, this is actually pretty amazing that it came up with all this stuff. And what the script will do is look through all the journal entries and determine whether or not it thinks something is good enough for YouTube. So it actually puts a little piece of information inside of there to determine whether or not a given article was worthy of being used for that. So you could just run this journal, YouTube, and ask it for a given week. So like we're on week 4 right now of January when I'm recording this. And you can see all the stuff that it came up with. Here's some kind of cost analysis. So total spent on a given prompt was $10.33, and I have no idea. I had no idea what this was going to show up and look like. So this is just the first pass of this tool. As a professional software engineer, I'll look over what it's doing, what it's producing, and see what kind of tweaks need to be made to refine this journaling tool. But that's what I wanted to share today on how to use Claude Code to actually build something very quickly. We just did a little planning. We had some prompt time. We let Claude think it over. He produced to me a plan of what he wanted to go build, and then I just told him to go ahead and proceed. So I really appreciate you joining me on this short little video today. Let me show you a sneak peek at what I've built to turn this raw information into a content generation machine. I'll have a full video of exactly how this was built out with little effort on my part. So what are some interesting ways that you're capturing your Claude Code sessions or using Claude Code? Please let me know down in the comments. If you got value out of this video, please like and subscribe and leave me a comment down below. I will respond to all comments. Until next time, keep creating. Also, you can find the link to the Claude Code script that I'm using by clicking the link down in the description.